For centuries, mathematics treated the slope of a curve and the area beneath it as two entirely separate problems. One focuses on instantaneous change, while the other focuses on accumulation. Today, we explore the bridge between these two worlds, the fundamental theorem of calculus, which reveals that differentiation and integration are inverse operations. Why does this matter? Because calculating areas of complex shapes using limits of sums is incredibly difficult. This theorem provides a shortcut, allowing us to use the rules of derivatives to solve area problems instantly. It is the bedrock of physics, engineering, and modern analysis. Before we proceed, recall that the derivative represents the instantaneous rate of change. If we have a position function, the derivative gives us velocity. Visually, this is the slope of the tangent line at any specific point along the function's path. Conversely, the definite integral represents the total accumulation of a quantity. We approximate this by summing the areas of infinitely thin rectangles under a curve. Until the fundamental theorem, finding the exact value of this sum was a monumental task. Crucial to our journey is the concept of the antiderivative. If you know the derivative of a function, the antiderivative is simply the process of working backward to find the original function. This reverse relationship is the heart of the theorem we are about to define. The first part of the theorem defines an area function, gx. Imagine the area under a curve starting at a fixed point and ending at a moving point x. As x moves to the right, the area gx grows or shrinks depending on the value of the function. FTC Part 1 states that if we take the derivative of this area function, we get the original function back. In simple terms, the rate at which the area is changing at point x is exactly equal to the height of the function at that point. Look at this visually. When we increase x by a tiny amount to dx, the new area added is a tiny rectangle. The area of this rectangle is its height, fx, times its width, dx. Therefore, the change in area per change in x is just the height, fx. The second part is what we use most in practice. It states that to calculate the definite integral of a function from a to b, you only need to find its antiderivative, evaluate it at the endpoints, and subtract the results. No more infinite sums required. This confirms that integration and differentiation are inverse operations, much like addition and subtraction. If you integrate a rate of change, you get the net change in the original quantity. This unified view transformed mathematics into a powerful tool for science. Let's apply FTC Part 2. Suppose we want the area under x squared from x equals 1 to 3. First, we find the antiderivative. Using the power rule in reverse, the antiderivative of x squared is 1/3 x cubed. Next, we evaluate this at the upper bound, 3, and the lower bound, 1. 1/3 of 3 cubed is 9, and 1/3 of 1 cubed is 1/3. Subtracting them gives us 26/3. This is the exact area under the curve. Now let's try a trigonometric function. To find the area under one hump of the sine curve from 0 to pi, we find the antiderivative of sine, which is negative cosine. Evaluating at the boundaries, we have negative cosine of pi minus negative cosine of 0. Since cosine of pi is negative 1 and cosine of 0 is 1, the expression simplifies to 1 plus 1. The total area is exactly 2. Applying the first part of the theorem is even simpler. If asked for the derivative of an integral where the upper limit is x, you simply replace the variable t in the function with x. The derivative and integral cancel each other out. What if the upper limit isn't just x, but a function like x squared? We must apply the chain rule. We plug x squared into the function, then multiply by the derivative of x squared, which is 2x. There is a major catch: the theorem only applies if the function is continuous on the interval. If there is a break or an asymptote, like 1 over x squared at 0, you cannot simply plug in the endpoints. This requires improper integration techniques. When both boundaries are variables, we treat the integral as the difference between two area functions. To find the derivative, we apply the theorem to the top bound and subtract the result of the theorem applied to the bottom bound. In physics, the FTC explains why the area under a velocity-time graph gives you the total displacement. Since velocity is the derivative of position, integrating velocity returns the change in position over that time interval. This applies to any rate. If you have the rate at which water flows into a tank, the integral of that rate over time gives you the total volume of water accumulated. The FTC makes these real-world calculations efficient. A common mistake is confusing indefinite and definite integrals. When finding a general antiderivative, you must include the constants c. However, in a definite integral, c subtracts itself out, so we usually omit it during the calculation. Always remember the order of evaluation, top minus bottom. Subtracting the upper limit value from the lower limit value will give you the negative of the correct area, leading to significant errors in physical applications. Because differentiation and integration are so closely linked, students often accidentally differentiate when they meant to find the antiderivative. Always double-check that your exponent is increasing when integrating polynomials. In summary, the fundamental theorem of calculus links the local behavior of a function, its slope, to its global behavior, the area it covers. Part 1 shows that integration is the reverse of differentiation, and Part 2 gives us a powerful method to calculate areas. Remember these 3 points: the antiderivative is the key, the boundaries determine the net change, and always ensure your function is continuous over the interval before you begin your calculation. Let's test your knowledge. If the function is 3t squared, the antiderivative is t cubed. Evaluate t cubed from 0 to 2. What is 2 cubed minus 0 cubed? The answer is 8. By using the fundamental theorem, we avoided complex limit sums and found the exact area under the parabola in seconds. You are now ready to apply this to more complex functions. The fundamental theorem of calculus is more than just a formula, it is the language used to describe the changing world around us. From orbiting planets to fluctuating markets, these principles are always at work. Thank you for exploring the beauty of calculus with us. Keep practicing, and you'll soon see these patterns everywhere in mathematics and beyond. Generated by Vision Solve AI.